So when you get this machine, and first thing you need to do to get it set up is to have a licensed electrician wire it. It is a three-phase 220 system, and if it's not wired correctly, specifically because of the control panel, the computer, you can do some damage real quick. So you want to have a licensed electrician make sure that all the legs of the wiring are done correctly. Second thing is you need to remove this cover and put your hydraulic fluid in there. And then when you first start it up for the first time, back on this side, in the back, the hydraulic motor, the motor for the hydraulic pump, there's a red arrow on it, and it shows the direction that the motor needs to be turning in for the hydraulics to work properly. That's just a fail-safe check. You want to take a look at that and make sure that that is turning correctly, otherwise it isn't going to operate correctly. Very easy console to use and to learn. Basic features. We can also program these if a company really needed anything specific or custom. We're able to do that as well. So we'll turn this on right now. I'll show you the sequence of how to get it set up for your very first job. Of course, you're going to want to get your material in and fed. Then you have, we can go backwards. We can go forwards on the material here to get set up. So we need to be like right about there. And we'll turn the motor on now. Got your green start button. Now I'm going to reduce the chuck right now, and you'll see that, and that's this here, holding chuck. As I turn this, it'll turn the magnetics off and let the die come, the dial just drop down. Okay? So, when you're first getting set up, when you first turn the machine on actually, you're gonna no, that was in automatic mode. So I'm gonna come back here. Right about there. Okay. And the selector switch is going to put things in manual state, straight up and down. To the left is say auto state and semi-auto state. So when you're first getting set up, you're going to want to be in manual state. You will, in manual state, just one time. Okay? That initiates the whole system. Now, let's see here. You're going to put your die in. And just center it in the head. Okay? You're going to change the setting key. You turn it. That doesn't look centered enough. This setting key right here, I'm going to turn it. And you'll see it just comes down gently. I'll do that. Well, it comes down gently and just kisses your die. It's sitting there. At that point, what you're doing is adjusting. And in here, this is coming down. You got it good on this here. That's coming down and resting on this. Okay? I'm going to tighten it. And that sets my rough setting of where I need to be. Now, through the computer, I can adjust more cutting pressure. But when I do this, when I turn this back, the setting key back now, this will raise up. Okay, what I forgot to do was turn my chuck back on. This is the magnetic chuck. Okay, now that it's on, it's holding my die. If you have a wood die, you're going to have to back it like we did this. We countersunk some 16th steel so that it can hold it. There you go. Comes up with it. So, we can do a test cut at this point. I can move the head here, or I can move it down there. So I come over here, And I'll just do a test cut real quick. I can already tell. Okay. So in its manual state, I can do that all day long. I'm going to come back to my beginning position, right there. And I can work in manual, or I can go to auto state. So I turn the switch to the left. That puts me in automatic mode. And now over here, I'm going to set how many job set. That's how many pieces I want. Right now I have it set to 25. The counter will count up to 25. I'm going to clear it so it's at 0. If I was at 10 right now, it would only cut 15. So I clear it out. Cutting depth, just leave it 0 unless you need more pressure. If you need more pressure, go up incrementally. Like it's 0.00. I'd go up to 0.01, 0.02, 0.03. Just increments. Otherwise, what you're going to do is you're going to drive your die right down into your cutting board. You're going to cause problems for your cutting board, and you might damage your die trying to get your die out. This is 25 tons. It has no problem burying that die completely down into your cutting board. Okay? And then your pickup time. This is how high you want to go after each cut. There's no need to come up this high every single time if I'm cutting something really thin like this. So if I'm cutting tall foam, I'll want it to rise up higher each time in between each cut. And that is the pickup time right there. Now, your die width, I have it set to 205 millimeters. My die, I know when I measure it, is only 200 millimeters. But you need to allow just a little bit. So I added 5 millimeters to that. So I'm 205 millimeters wide. I know I'm 205 millimeters tall as well. Depending on the nature of your cut, okay, we can cut like this all the way down and then have it cut at second row just like that, or I can nest that down into here. And the way you get that to come down is to reduce the height of your die. Tell it that your die is not as high as it actually is. And that will help you optimize your material. So instead of being like this, I'm doing my second row like this, and I'm optimizing my material. I'm just leaving a little bit of waste, 5 millimeters, 10 millimeters. So that's on your die height. That's how you adjust that. You have your left and your right. Okay. You can do it here. I can do it from the traveling head all by itself. Forward and backwards on the material. That's obvious. Now when I'm getting ready to cut a sequence, the machine needs to know, where is the head? Is my head over here to the right? Because if it is, I need to tell it, start my sequence, I want it to start cutting left. So I would tell it left. If for some reason I was all the way down here, I would say, start my cutting sequence going right. And you have to do that each time you reset, because it needs to know, where is this traveling head? So I'm going to move it back over to the left just a little bit. Okay? And I'm telling it that it is going to be going to the left. Now from here, those are your basic settings here. I should note that if you need to stop the machine for any reason, you can stop it by hitting the red stop button there, hitting that, or hitting this. There's 3 different ways to stop this, and when you do, it'll rise to its upper height and position immediately. No matter what it's doing, it's in the middle of a stroke, it's going to stop and go to the top. So from here now, I'm going to go into settings, and a lot of things you don't need to worry about or adjust in your settings. You have your auto sideways. That's how, in auto mode, how many millimeters per second you want to travel. And so it's set to 281. Manual sideways is set to 150. Now set times is saying, for the material you have, how many pieces are we going to cut? Or basically, how many times do you want this to come up and down based on the settings that you put in there? And so, because this is a small piece of material, I told it I want it to do 4 times. Auto feeding That's your material through the rollers. It's 150 millimeters a second. Manual feeding is set as a default 100 millimeters per second. Does a couple other things that are kind of unique. There is a pressure delay. So if because of the type of material you're cutting, you need it to come down and stop, rest for a second, and then come up, go over, and come down and cut your second one. That's what your feeding delay is. And some materials require that. You also have your, that was your pressure delay. Sorry about that. Your pressure delay makes it so that when it comes down, it will stop, it'll rest, and it'll hold for a moment, get up, come over, cut, stay in the down position, and you can set that for as long as you need that to be. Then you have a feeding delay. If you have a whole bunch of little pieces like this, you have your photoelectric control on, or basically the light curtain that keeps your hands from going through here. You're waiting for it to come out here. If it takes longer for the people to pick up those pieces than the machine is able to cut, then you want to put a feeding delay on here so that it will stop. It'll allow the people to pick up everything they need to before it feeds the next row forward and starts its cutting sequence. So those are done in the settings control panel here. Now, dislocation is what I was just talking about. If you select dislocation here to turn it on, if it's off, it's going to just keep cutting exactly like that. It'll cut a row of these, it'll cut a row of those, and they'll be perpendicular to each other. If I turn dislocation on, it's going to offset it. And as a result of offsetting it, it needs to know what is your dislocation distance. I've got a product that I'm cutting, or a die that I'm cutting that's 205, so I'm 102. My dislocation is 102, basically the middle. And then again, I told you, I reduced the height that the machine thinks my die is to bring it down, nesting it as tight as I can get it in here, optimizing use of material. So that's what your dislocation distance is for. Now you have reduction. Yes or no? Reduction, in a dislocation mode, if I have dislocation turned on, reduction is I'm going to get 4 cuts this way, but when I jump up here, since it's offset, if I did 4, I'd be off the paper. So I select the reduction button, and it will reduce the count by 1. So I'm going to get 4 on this row, 3 on this row, 4 on this row, 3 on this row. If you get more out without dislocation, then you would turn it off. But that's how dislocation works, and you'll see in the manual you can see examples of this. I just want you to understand how it works. And then model, you have a model option here. You're able to enter that job in as Model 1, Model 2, Model 3, Model 4, and enter these into memory and be able to come back to them later on. You also have your indicators screen. The indicator screen tells me everything about the machine based on the sensors in the machine. So we have the, right now it's telling me we're in auto mode. Okay, I go like this, we're not in auto mode, but as soon as I took it out of auto mode, this raised all the way to the top. So now it says my upper limit, I have reached my upper limit, and I can tell that from here. Now, if I bring this all the way to the right, you'll see when it gets all the way to the right, it tells me I'm going right, and when I get to the right, it says I have reached my right limit. Now, I moved it to the left a little bit. We're not in our right limit anymore. I'm moving to the left. You see the left coming on, and when I get all the way to the left, it will tell me that I've reached my left limit. So, when diagnosing any kind of problems that you might be having, this is a good screen to come to. Sometimes people try and do the setting switch, and it doesn't come down gently, and they're wondering what's going on. You can hit the cutting switch, it'll go down and reset the system to be able to then turn your setting switch, come down and kiss that die, and turn your magnetic chuck holding on. It'll lift the die up with it. But I could come to this screen and see when it will not go down and kiss. It's generally because its upper right limit has been reached. and that will be on. So if I try and turn this right now, it's not going to do anything. I can manually tell it to come down a little bit. So that each time I'm pushing this, okay, I can go back up, I can go down. Control that there. So as soon as, do that one more time for you. Okay, it's in its upper limit. If there's a red light on, it will not let me set my die. The way to get rid of it is to manually bring it down a little bit. I have no red lights. Now I can turn my setting switch on right here. It's going to go down and kiss. Do that one more time. Upper limit is on. I'm going to manually push it down just a little bit. White screen. Put the camera here. Now when I turn the setting switch, it'll come down, it'll kiss my die. Then I come over here, I adjust my setting, that's 0. Okay? And it's this valve right here. As this comes down, it's touching that, and that's what's telling it, stop going down. Otherwise, you'll press your die into the board. So we'll go back up here, and we can go back here, enter. Okay, so I have my whole system in here. I can set it as Model 1. I can save it. I can see we're in our manual state. I can do a test cut. Okay, I can check my material. Let's go down here and do it. Okay. Okay, the test depth is fine. So I'm going to bring it back. Basically, where I can get 4 cuts out of this. I'm going to advance my rollers. Okay. A little bit too much. Go back a little bit. There we go. And now I'm going to put it in auto state. Okay. Selector switch turns it into auto state. You'll see right here on the screen. It'll say auto state now. And now when I hit start, it'll start its sequence. Okay. And now literally, as fast as somebody can pick up these pieces, it's cutting. Now I can slow it down. I'm going to hit stop now. As soon as I hit the stop button, it rose to the top. Okay, right now I want to demonstrate the light curtain and how it works. So we're going to clear this out. We're telling it that we're starting and going to the left. And right here is how you turn your light curtain on. Okay, to the right is on. You can see that the machine is cutting right now. Okay, so it was on its waist and it was on its downstroke. It stopped, came back up, and that's because I broke the plane there. So I hit start again. So this is required. We recommend that you don't have people's hands up here. This is dangerous. It will cut hands. It will crush hands. And you do not want people's hands up in this area. If you're in manual mode, then you're up here and you're telling it to cut. But in automatic mode, you do not. Stuff happens. People can trip. Always keep a clean floor, but you can trip. You can get your hand underneath there, and that's going to be bad for you. And again, to take off the light curtain, the photoelectric control, turn that off. You'll be able to see here that there's no light. If I turn it back on, you can see in here that the light is on. So it's an easy, I can see green and I can see red, and now it's off. So simple machine. We look forward to talking to you. If you have any questions, give us a call.
CJR Tech has been in the manufacturing business for more than a decade, with offices in the USA, Philippines, Korea and China. We are an international company with sales all over the world. CJR specializes in all types of specialized cutting machines with emphasis on automated cutting. Nearly all of our machines are customer-built to customer-specific needs. CJR is not the only company in this market segment, but they are the only company that can make custom machines from 10 tons to 350 tons in a variety of table sizes and machine types. Today, CJR enjoys annual sales that nearly doubles all USA-based competition with the best warranty in the business and the best customer service anywhere. If you want to do business with a company that always answers the phone and values customer service over anything else, you're in the right place. Welcome to CJR Tech, a different type of company.